Hello, welcome back to AJM Learn. Today, I'm going to show you how to make some customizations using CSS on Squarespace Courses. So we have a lot of restrictions on like these colors and a couple other things like these boxes, super boring. So I've come up with tons of customizations. Make sure to click subscribe if you like these videos and let's dive in. So I'm just going to copy this straight over. You can find these in the video description. You can also find this in the original post. So first, set of copy and paste codes. In the original post, there's also the actual selectors if you wanted to play around yourself, but copy and paste codes. Okay. First is all apply to this course overview page, so this first main course page. So first will be the course name color. Took a second. Okay, so that took. So course name color. So if you go into site styles, you'll see we can actually set the size. We can actually adjust the font size for everything. But colors, it's a lot of grouping. Like I think these are the same color. Like this is all the same color, all chapters, lessons, everything. And it just doesn't give us a lot of customization. So anyway, course title there. Next would be course description. This here. Next would be, let me scroll down. So this starts getting into the boxes here. Chapter title color. Next, we have the chapter meta color, which is this here. And you'll see I have a lot of just like my brand colors. This is not necessarily the color combos I would choose. I was just trying to choose things that show up. So lesson name color, lesson excerpt color, that's there. And you guessed it, lesson meta color. It's like these are all separate. So, all right, now we've covered everything. The whole idea is, of course, to make these separate because you could make it look like this with the built-in styles. But, you know, really what I would probably do is change like up here. I would, just change the course color. And then here I would probably, not change the meta color and not change the excerpt color and maybe make more adjustments, but just as an example. Okay. Another thing, so this was really stumping me. Within site styles, you can change, let me save this. So within site styles, you can change the entire background of this. So let me get to it. Light one, it's somewhere. Actually, I think you can click on the page. Okay. So lesson and chapter background. So we can change like the entire background color, but you can't change them separately. So what I was trying to do is find the CSS to where obviously you could like target them separately. What I did find, no problem, was the lesson background. So we can change that lesson background color. That works perfectly. The selector that I am absolutely sure should be targeting this chapter background color is not working. So someone feel free to comment if you can get yours to work. I cannot get this top like background to change. So what I suggest is let me save again, is within site styles, just use that. So go back in here, change your background color like here to whatever you want that top part to be. This is obviously like disgustingly ugly, but you get the idea. In which case we would then need to go in and like readjust these chapter colors before I literally like have an aneurysm. I'll just change that. Okay. This is obviously a little crazy, but you get the idea. So that's how I would change those because I cannot figure out for the life of me, I cannot get the chapter background to be targeted. Anyway, so that is the lesson background color. This one I love. So rounding the corners of the chapter boxes. So this whole box here now has rounded corners. To me, if this fits your brand, it's just so much more put together. It looks so much more complete and purposeful to me. So I love a good rounded corner. You can also add a border around the entire box. So kind of same selector there. You can add a border around this whole thing. Obviously, we have a lot of like teal and turquoise happening here. Again, this would not be my personal selection, but you're getting the vibe. Okay, add that background. All right, this one's really fun. So this one does require a little bit of customization. So this one basically is targeting one specific lesson. So like if you wanted to highlight one lesson, how this works. This first child is which chapter? So let's move it to chapter 1. You can see that moving. And the second one is which lesson within the chapter. So, 1, 2, etc. You can, of course, so let's say I want to do that one. You can, of course, repeat this and, change it for chapter 2, first lesson. And you can, you could highlight a different lesson on each one if you want. What you can also do is take away this first selector, because this is telling it we only want like that first chapter to do this. You can take away that first selector and you could actually highlight the first lesson on every single one. So if you didn't want to target just a specific chapter, just take away that whole first piece and do this instead. So that's an option. If you wanted to highlight with a border instead, here would be that. So this isn't going to work great if you have a border around the whole chapter box. I would suggest, not using it. But in the case that you do not, it works nicely. What you might need to do is go in and add a border radius and round the corners if you're using rounded corners. If you're not using rounded corners, looks nice. Like for example, let's move it up here. So same situation, you can move it around and just highlight one with an outline instead of a background, or you can do outline and background if you want to get crazy. All right. Oh, another one. So change the background. So similarly, if you're highlighting one, I had this question from a client. They're like, well, we're highlighting this one, but we want the hover color to also be different, because you can edit the hover color within the site styles. But they're like, we want this one specifically to have a different hover color. So bam, you can do that. Same situation, just change the child numbers. All right, so now that we have this looking sufficiently crazy, this is everything for this page. If you click into a lesson, the rest of the CSS applies to this page. So I've found, let me go in here and edit. Let me remove the video. So, because this is where I came up with this issue. If you're not using the video, this is just like, this top section is literally so insane to me. There's just so much text happening. So what I like to do here, let me like clear my CSS panel, is play around with this a bit. So course title color, you can change that using the CSS. Just to help get some hierarchy here, or just difference in stuff. I actually like to change the chapter color a lot, just as like a little call out. So even if you only change the chapter color, that already looks a little better. Something I really like to do is just hide the course title. They already know what course they're in. I find this so redundant. So to hide the course title, 2 ways to do this. If you use this where you're doing display none, it's going to move this button over here. That could be fine. Like if that doesn't bother you, totally cool. I have also used it this way to where I'm just changing the text here to transparent. So it's still there, but in this case, I wanted the button on the right. So that's another option if you wanted to just get rid of that title completely, because I do find it extremely redundant. Similarly, if you wanted to just get rid of the chapter title, you could do that as well. Like if it's just like, this is probably less likely, you probably want to keep that there, but there's the CSS in case you want it. And then lastly, we have the lesson color. You could totally, I don't know why you'd want to hide the lesson name, but you could totally do display none and do that. You can remove this line within the builder, by the way. Okay, those are all the customizations helping us make this look a little more customizable. Just those templatized sections can get a little boring. All right, guys, don't forget, hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Hope it helps.